All right, welcome back, everybody. The Trans-Pacific Partnership. We've been talking about it all week. It was part of our Mama Luke of the Day segment today. Turns out, as you know, as you've heard on this show, the majority of Democrat lawmakers are against President Obama's Trans-Pacific Partnership, and the majority of Republican lawmakers are in support of President Obama's Trans-Pacific Partnership. But it's not that simple. As odd as that may sound, it is not that simple, and that is this. On the Republican side, folks, believe it or not, the majority of presumed Republican presidential candidates agree with the Democrats against the president. All right, that might sound confusing. Joining me this time to sort it all out is the president of the nonprofit 501c3 known as Americans for Limited Government, Rick Menning. Rick, I love the name of your organization.
Thank you. And we do exactly what we say. We're for a limited government. We fight for it every single day.
All right, so if you turn on the news, turn on One American News, if you read any of the news sites, it looks like Republicans are vastly right behind the president. You know, Mitch McConnell's trying to fast track this thing through. You got Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders who are against it. But you've done some research here, and you say, well, there's a split within the party.
There is a split within the party. People like Rand Paul's against it. People like Mike Huckabee, Donald Trump, Carly Fiorina, Chris Christie. You look over and over again and you see various Republican candidates for president who are against the fast-tracking the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Now, before I ask you why the disconnect within the Republican Party, I want to back up a second. Sure. We had on one of the leading GOP strategists on a show the other day, John Jordan is his name. He favors the TPP.
Okay.
And as you can tell, I do not. And I asked him why. I said, well, you know what, Rick, this is where President Obama has it right. The one economic issue he has right, because if we open it up to a debate in Congress, then what's going to, in the Senate, then what's going to happen is everyone's going to get their pork in there, they're going to get their favors, they're going to throw all kinds of bloated programs in there, and then it's going to be a lousier deal. What do you say to that?
Well, first of all, this has been negotiated over a 5-year period. Those big corporations have been getting their pork in. They have been getting their favors in. It's just you and I don't get to know about it. So we don't get to know what's in there until after they decide to fast track it. And for me, I would rather have something being transparent so we know what's going on before the Congress decides to make it easy to pass a treaty.
Now,
so I don't believe he's telling exactly what's happening.
Am I being a little bit too extreme when I asked the rhetorical question, which I did earlier on the show, that I would like to know what financial relationships, if any, that Mitch McConnell has with those U.S. corporations who stand to benefit the most from the TPP?
You know, I don't go down that path,
Okay.
but I think it's a fair thing to ask. You know, one of the things that we want in this, out of our politicians, is transparency. But most importantly, what we want is we want them to actually let us know what they're voting on. And what we're seeing right now is a rush to judgment. Mitch McConnell is attempting to pass through cloture right now on this fast tracking of Trans-Pacific Partnership before anybody even gets to see what's in the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Let me interject. If you don't go down the path that I suggested, and I respect your opinion, what do you think McConnell's motivation is here?
There's a knee-jerk reaction to anything that you might term free trade. And I think Senator McConnell is making a mistake. This is not a free trade deal. It is at best a managed trade deal, and it is probably a regulatory trade deal.
So you believe his motivations are in the right place?
Yeah, I don't impugn his motivations. I think he's wrong. You know, when you get right down to it, this is a managed trade deal where you have a lot of the same people in K Street who try to manipulate the system in D.C. to get their interests, have now done this on the international level. So they can harmonize regulations, change laws in a 12-country region, and be able to allow for a free flow of labor, goods, and money throughout the 12-country region. And that's what the Prime Minister of Japan said it was.
So this is U.S. lobbyist influence.
Yes.
And that could be what's also motivating the factors here. Is that why the disconnect? among the Republican Party?
I think there's a disconnect because there's a lot of people who've taken a look at it and say, why would you give President Obama what Mitch McConnell calls an enormous grant of power when we spend all of our time fighting against him grabbing power?
Right.
It makes absolutely no sense. That's where I came to this. I said, what are they doing? It doesn't make any sense. And the more I get to know about what's in the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the more I learn, the less I like it, and the more determined I am that we need to stop this.
You tell us what you know about it, and our viewers should be aware of.
Sure. Senator Jeff Sessions published something, a critical alert, 5 things you need to know about Trans-Pacific Partnership. One of those things that stuck out to me is it's a living agreement. The Trans-Pacific Partnership is, as we hear when the liberals talk about the Constitution being a living document, the TPP is a living agreement. What that means is it can be changed later on after ratification. There's a debate whether or not that change would have to be ratified by Congress. You can add additional countries into the TPP without having the full ratification process. You can have, it has 22 sections that don't deal with trade, including climate change. Do we really trust President Obama to negotiate a world climate change deal?
Right.
It's absolutely insane for the Republicans to put this gun in his hand.
When President Obama says, as does Paul Ryan, that the reason we need to do this is because if you don't give the president this vast power, negotiating power, and the ability to sign off on it, then we allow China to set the standards of business trade in the world, not America. What do you say to that?
Well, I say that China is going to be entering into the TPP pretty rapidly after it's ratified. We know that Australia and other countries involved want China involved. And what China will do is they'll get all of the trade aspects of it, and they'll go to those countries and say, you know, those little environmental rules that you want to put in, the labor rules, but you can't use slave labor to produce goods. Well, we don't really care about that because we use slave labor here. So do business with us, and all the protections that exist in this deal are going to go away, and we'll have to follow suit. So that's what's going to happen with this. That's the inevitable course, and it's all because it's a living agreement where other countries can dock in after the fact, after ratification, and that actually creates this world regime that the Japanese Prime Minister described.
So where does the Japanese Prime Minister stand on this?
He's in favor of it.
He's in favor of it, even though he's making some severe criticism of it.
Well, he's in favor of it. He's the one who came out and said this is an Asian Pacific regime that's going to allow for the free flow of labor, money, and goods. He said that at the White House a couple of weeks ago. It is and so he's in favor of it.
But influenced by K Street. Influenced
by K Street. But remember this: the one thing the Japanese will not give up is currency manipulation. They've been manipulating the yen to make certain that we can't sell our automobiles in Japan, and by doing so, they don't have that in this Trans-Pacific Partnership. Consequently, while it may change tariff rules, that's only part of the equation in terms of opening markets. And through currency manipulation, the Japanese have kept their markets closed to U.S. goods and services.
Okay. All right. So let's come back. That's important. The fact that it's not in this agreement, that means that they can continue their manipulations.
Absolutely. And the Secretary of Treasury has said he wants to go forward with bilateral arrangements, bilateral agreements. Why would the Japanese agree to a bilateral agreement when, in fact, they're getting everything they want through the TPP and they don't have to give it up? That's the absurdity of this. We're giving away the castle, but we're not getting anything back that will help us sell our goods and services overseas.
Bottom line with me, Rick Manning, is I'm a free trade guy, as you may or may not know. I know you're a limited government guy, so am I. I believe in free markets. I don't want to give President Barack Obama or any U.S. president, Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter to me, expanded powers on trade deals. And in this case, as you point out astutely, this Congress and the Senate has taken almost 7 years fighting the growth of power of Barack Obama. Now they say, well, let's give it to him in this one instance. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Rick Manning, President of Americans for Limited Government. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Rick. Appreciate it.
All right. My Grassroots Citizens panel is next. Don't go anywhere. From the Edge of America, I'm Rick Amato. Back after this.